Our why today is we continue to see ICE doing their stagings and getting ready to execute what I assume are warrants against people that they say are here illegally. We have some local businesses that are saying we're not a part of this. They might be in our parking lot, but it is not our bag.
We don't like it any more than you do.
We've got local police agencies that are saying we're not a part of this. This is their deal. Don't look at us for this stuff. That's not our bag.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I kind of wonder, why is it that we don't see Immigrations and Customs Enforcement going after employers? Because that seems to me like the easiest pickings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know when we see a landscaping company that not everybody there is here with papers, right? I mean, at
least with some of the companies, we assume that.
If you are abandoning the whole "we're going to get the bad guys first" mantra, which of course we've done, because we're like, you've been here 30 years and been paying taxes and raised 3 children here, and everybody in your family is legal, but you don't have documents. We're going to deport you to El Salvador now.
Yep.
We're seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, MS-13 still continues to operate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're obviously not breaking up the gangs. We're going after grandpas.
Yeah.
So that's happening.
When I talked with Broomhead this morning, I made the analogy with him. You love analogies, Chris.
I do.
I said, I don't understand why, if we know the problem is both individuals coming in illegally and businesses employing people who are here illegally, think about it like drugs. It's common sense that you go after the people who are dealing the drugs, but also in this country, we go after the kingpins. We go up the chain.
Yeah.
But it seems like with what's going on in this case, we're not going after any of the businesses that are employing
100%
the people who are here illegally.
We go after drug users, we go after drug dealers, and we go after the kingpins. If we talk about prostitution, we go after the Johns and the prostitutes and the pimps, right?
But when it comes a little bit, yes, for the most part.
I don't need your expertise on prostitution, Joe. Thank you. But when it comes to immigration, we only go after the immigrants. And you got to wonder why. Now, I'm not going to make race part of this. This is not part of my reasoning here. Some of you are immediately going to say that. I'm not going to go down that path. But in immigration, you've got 2 drivers. You've got push and pull. You've probably heard this argument before. Something pushing people away from their countries, and then maybe you've got something drawing them into the new country. Push and pull boil down to something that we've talked about many times before, the 2 emotions that drive human behavior, fear and greed. Push and pull, right? You got fear for your lives or greed for a better life. Those are the basic drivers. That's what this boils down to. So employers of illegal immigrants, they also have fear and greed, but largely driven by greed, because you've got cheap labor. That means keeping costs down. That means lower prices. That means more sales. That means higher profit. The only fear they have is getting caught. So if you're a farmer and you are you've got razor thin margins, you got to keep your labor costs down. No better way to do that than to hire somebody who's willing to work hard, long hours for low wages.
Yeah.
That's not happening from, I don't know, name some boring rich white kid name. Brofius.
Perfect. I don't know any Brofiuses, but yes. I would ask you, though, if I am a farmer, wouldn't that fear that I could be shut down if I get busted, wouldn't that be powerful?
That would be. However, if immigration enforcement isn't going after the employers who are breaking the laws, then they have no fear.
Like there's some kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink?
I mean, you said it. I mean, what fear is there? There is no reason to address the issue if you know that you aren't going to get busted. They get carte blanche because as a society, we reward greed. We want low prices. We are not paying 30% more from products from places that are following the rules. If my neighbor is running a farm and he's selling a head of lettuce for 50 cents, and I'm doing things legitimately, and my head of lettuce is $1.50, which head of lettuce are you buying? They taste the same.
The 50-cent one.
Of course you are.
Even if they taste that 50-cent one tastes a little funky, I'm probably eating it.
As long as there are jobs available, the pull is here to come to the United States. And even our low-wage jobs in agriculture and food packing and construction are still far and above what people might be making in their own countries. To them, the risk is worth it. But here's your big but, Joe. I know you like big butts. You know why?
I cannot lie.
That's why.
Tell
there was a raid at a food packing plant, a meat production plant in Omaha yesterday. And now they didn't go after the plant itself. They went only after the workers. Chad Hartman is the president of the food packing company, and he said that the front office was stunned by the aggressive nature of federal officials' raids and confused by why the company was targeted. He said, my biggest issue is why us? We do everything by the book. The plant uses E-Verify, the federal database used to check immigration status of employees. And when he said as much to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers who carried out the raid, they told him the E-Verify system is broken.
Yeah, and isn't that the federal government's fault, not his fault?
That's kind of what he said. He said, what am I supposed to do with that? This is your system run by the government, and you're raiding me because your system is broken? But I also wonder about this. If the system is broken, like the ICE officers told Meatpacker, where are the legislators working to fix the issue? Yeah. And maybe they don't care because as long as their beef stays cheap, they're fine with it. Mm-hmm. But then I also got to thinking about this. Joe, you don't like paperwork.
No.
No, I know you don't. I was talking with an HR professional about the E-Verify system, and she said, it is a pain. I said, why is it such a pain? She goes, I have to have driver's license, I have to have birth certificate, I have to have copies of these things, and I have to cross-reference them. You know, I have to have all the different things that are on your I-9 form, and I have to cross-reference them, and I have to put them into the computer, and then if anything is awry, I get a flag. Mm-hmm. And she says she's gotten flags from U.S. citizens before because the government screwed up some of the other paperwork. She said, it is such a pain. I said, how is somebody that doesn't know the American system and barely speaks English supposed to do that? Are there people in these companies that are trying to help people through their own paperwork system to make sure they get the cheap labor? I got to believe that's happening.
What was funny is you mentioned Chad Hartman, who's the president of this food packing plant. He contacted his representative, Don Bacon, who's a Republican. And Bacon represents all sorts of Nebraska leaders, things like that. And Bacon had issued a statement saying that the ICE raid, which sought to investigate stolen identities, ICE verified that Glen Valley Foods, this company, complied with E-Verify 100% and was also a victim.
They're victims now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who's the bad guy?
Well, it's obviously the person from a different country. Always.
So they are so smart and so sinister that they have figured out how to crack E-Verify.
Yes. That's how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.